Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the June 25th meeting and to wish everyone an early happy Canada Day. Our next meeting will be after July the 1st. So anyway, we will call the meeting to order and start with our roll call. So Mayor of Asphodel Norwood.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Burt.
Present.
And Kevin Monaghan online is Mayor Graham.
Present.
And Deputy Mayor Huntley.
Here.
And Duro Dummer, we have Mayor Watson. Good morning. And in Deputy Mayor Nelson's place, we have Councillor Watt. Welcome.
Thank you.
And he is off, our Deputy Mayor from Duro Dummer. We wish him a speedy recovery. And we also seeing Jim here patched up a bit. We wish him a speedy recovery as well. So I will continue with Havelock, Belmont, Methuen, Mayor Martin.
Present.
And Deputy Mayor Webb.
Present.
And Mayor Amiot from Northern Kawartha. And online, sporting Canada Day shirt is our Deputy Mayor Whalen.
How about that, eh? First, not 51st.
That deserves a round of applause. And from Otonabee, South Monaghan, Mayor Taylor.
Here.
And myself, Deputy Mayor Clark. And from Selwyn, we have the Mayor and the Deputy Warden, Senes. Present. And the Deputy Mayor Black.
Present.
And from Trent Lakes, we have Mayor Lambshead.
I am present.
And Deputy Mayor Armstrong. Present. We will now have the land acknowledgement.
With deep respect, we acknowledge the lands and interconnected waterways that bind us together, the foundation for all life. These lands serve as a keeper of history and stories and are a source of inspiration. In recognizing this, we embrace that all living things possess an important energy and purpose. We extend the utmost gratitude to the original peoples who have been caretakers of these lands and waters of this region from time immemorial, and to this day who continue this commitment. Peterborough County's dedication to reconciliation remains steadfast. In this spirit, we are committed to nurturing meaningful partnerships and connections that contribute to an environment of prosperity and well-being for all generations to come. This acknowledgement is made on the Treaty 20 land and the territory of the Mississauga Anishinaabe, and within the traditional lands of the Mississauga and Chippewa nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaty First Nations. Further, our gratitude is extended to the nations of Alderville, Beausoleil, Curve Lake, Georgina Island, Hiawatha, Rama, and Scugog Island.
Thank you very much. We'll move to adoption of the agenda. If I could have that motion, please. Moved by Councillor Martin, second by Councillor Burt. All in favor? Thank you. Disclosure of pecuniary interest. I think we do have one. Councillor Black.
Yeah, from reports.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, from report policy.
Yes. Business Advisory 12C. Thank you. Duly noted. Adoption of our minutes from the June the 4th. I'm looking for a mover and I'm seeing Councillor Armstrong and Councillor Watson. All in favor? Thank you. So we'll move right to an introduction of Brian Robison. Excuse me, and I'll turn it over to Ian Mudd to give us a more comprehensive and welcome to Brian.
Thank you. Good morning, Warden, members of council. It gives me great pleasure today to introduce to you Brian Robinson, our new manager of operations and fleet. Brian comes to us from the city of Kawartha Lakes, where he was the director of public works. In that role, Brian had responsibility for public works operations, fleet, transit, waste, water, and wastewater. Prior to that, Brian was the manager of capital projects at CKL. And during his career, Brian has also held positions as facility engineer at PepsiCo, senior municipal engineer at DM Wills Consulting here in town, and also design and construction engineer at the city of Peterborough. Brian's a professional engineer and a longtime resident of Peterborough County. He started his new role with us on June the 10th of just a couple of weeks ago, and he has kept returning every day, so we think he's so far so good. I realize some of you have already met him. He's jumped right into some of the committee meetings, and some of you may have already met him. And we please help me welcoming Brian to his new role here with the county, and we're very excited to have him.
Thanks, Ian. Appreciate the introduction. And I just want to take a moment to say thank you to the hiring committee that gave me the opportunity here. Really looking forward to it. Again, it's only been a couple of weeks. It's going to be a bit of time to get adjusted to everything and how the county works. But I'm looking forward to it. It's my first opportunity at an upper tier, lower tier type structure. So it's a bit of a learning curve for me, but happy to be here and looking forward to it moving forward. So thank you.
Thank you, Brian, and certainly that extensive, experience you've had will certainly that you bring to the best county in Ontario is fantastic. So welcome. We'll turn it over now. Richard, I always pronounce your name, Cizinga. Thank you. And Veronica is not joining you this morning, Richard?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Good morning, everyone. A pleasure to be here to present the results of the audit as well as your financial results for the year ended December 31st, 2024. Starting in April, we started the audit, and over the last number of weeks, we completed the audit and completed the financial statements, and those results are presented here. So I'll run through the new version of our presentation. So and I'll maybe try to highlight a few differences along the way. So hopefully everyone likes it. So first off, all right, is just a summary of the 2-page auditor's report. So this is our report on the financial statements. The content of the auditor's report remains consistent in 2024 as it was in 2023. So what we picked out here is the opinion paragraph that, in our opinion, the accompanying consolidated financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the county of Peterborough at December 31st, 2024, and the results of its operations and its cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with Canadian Public Sector Accounting Standards, or more commonly known as PSAB. And so that is your standard, clean, unqualified auditor's report, which of course is what you're used to getting. Next couple slides just give you an idea as to how we as auditors go about gathering the audit evidence so that we can prepare our audit opinion. And listed there are some of the things we go through, and gathering the evidence and substantive testing is a large part of the audit, and as well too is looking at the flows and your systems and the related controls that go with that. And on the following slide, you'll see that the audit is complete pending receipt of the signed representation letter and some legal letters and council approval of the financial statements. Overall, there were no significant difficulties encountered during the course of our audit or disagreements with management or changes to our initial audit plan. And we did have excellent cooperation from your management and staff. And as well too, there were some changes to PSAB, and they do result in potentially looking at some of your revenues. And so we did that with PS section 3400 will have an impact on the lower tiers, but when we reviewed your fees, there was no impact to that. So we did take a look at that. So then, and just keep in mind, 2023 was a big year of changes in the fact that the implementation of the asset retirement obligations and the financial instruments. But so now we come to the actual first slide with numbers showing your financial assets. So this represents financial assets are assets that are either cash or will be turned into cash. And you can see there that the presentation now presents the 5 years going from the oldest to the most current year. And then at the very end, you'll see a small graph there showing the trend for each line over the last 5 years. What you will see in 2024, there was a bit of a flip between investments and receivables and cash. So all of those numbers was a net change of about $2 million decreasing, and that big decrease is as a result mainly of your accounts payable being lower. I think too, when you look at the detailed financial statements, your investments now, in the past, the market value was lower than the book cost, but in 2024, that turned around so that the market value of your investments are higher than the book cost. So that's with the change in markets, you can see that trend across investments. I think too, within your receivables as well, just some grants and amounts owing from other municipalities causing that line item to increase. And as well too, you have a long-term receivable with a neighboring municipality for some bridge work. So that's shown there separately this year. So in total, about $2 million decrease in your net financial assets. And then when we take a look at the next slide, it shows who you owe money to. And you can see there in the green bar, the far right, those are your balances at the end of 2024, and those amounts also decreased as well. So, and then as well too, majority of that is related. The decrease is related to trade AP payables going down, as well as the amounts that you owe to other municipalities went down, and then that's actually flipped around, and they're sitting in receivables at the end of 2024. Your deferred revenue obligatory reserve fund represents predominantly your development charges that you have left at the end of the year that you can carry forward and use on identified projects. As well too, there's some money left from the gas tax or the Canada Community Building Fund within that line item. Your deferred revenue this year represents monies remaining in the paramedics area, deferred revenue that can be carried forward into 2024. Your long-term debt, that's the debt associated with the Armour Road building. Your asset retirement obligations, you can see there, the two line items, the landfill closure and post-closure liability that went away with the asset retirement obligation section in 2023. And this year, the change was just an increase of accretion to, or the time value of money on those liabilities, and 19.6 million of that does relate to the landfill. And then as well too, you can see there your employee future benefits also increased, and there was a plan amendment change that resulted in that change there. And as well too, you can see how the individual 5-year graphs on the side there just show the changes in each line item. And I think too, the two things maybe to remember here, that the asset retirement obligation and your employee future benefits, they don't get funded until you're actually going to, or you don't need to raise the money until you actually incur those costs. And for employee future benefits, that you pay that monthly with your monthly premiums anyways. So next is your 5-year trend on your net financial assets. And you can see there that back in 2021, 2022, you were setting aside resources, and then in 2023 and 2024, you really took the resources that were financial assets and converted them into tangible capital assets, which is kind of a below the line item, which is why those bit of a decrease there over the last couple of years. But of course, as you know, there's a lot of capital to be completed, so that's Understandable. And then if you look at the next slide, you will see there the value of your tangible capital assets increasing increasing the last couple of years with your investment in your tangible capital assets. So this year you had about $22.6 million in additions versus $9.8 million in amortization. Then the next slide shows you where those capital monies have went. You can see there was a land acquisition, there was some land improvements and building repairs. And then as well too, your largest line item being the roads and bridges, and all the roads work and things that were completed this year, as well as bridge work, making up the $16.5 million. And then machinery and equipment includes loaders and backhoes and new ambulances, as well as smaller vehicles and such, giving you the $22.6 million in additions. Then next page, you can see there your capital additions versus amortizations over the last 5 years. And then the next slide gives you an idea of your accumulated surplus at the end of each year for the last 5 years. And what you do see here is the amount you have invested in capital assets has increased over the years, and that number represents your net book value less the asset retirement obligations that are attached to those assets and the outstanding long-term debt that goes with that. And then 2 items to point out here: your reserve and your reserve funds, although they went down for use of your reserves, combine that with your change in your county operations line, surplus line, the net 2 lines of those 2 represent just a $400,000 decrease year over year, which is like a nice position to be in when you added $22.6 million in assets during the year. And then, of course, your total accumulated surplus is the $204 million, and majority of that tied up in your capital. And then the next page just highlights your statement of operations. And as you're all aware, when you're setting your tax rate budget, you do not budget for a surplus, but if you take a look at the first column in the budget, there is a surplus, and that represents the PSAB surplus, and the amounts down below in the reconciliation then just show you how things come back to zero, and the fact that PSAB treats capital, operations, and reserves all as one lump sum total as equity, whereas when you're budgeting, you treat them all individually. So it's the change in your capital fund and your reserve and reserve funds, and as well too as your principal repayments on your long-term debt, as it's not an expense for PSAB, but you do need to raise that in your tax rates. And then the following slide gives you a quick total of your revenues and expenses over the last 5 years, and in years where you're acquiring capital and have capital funding, the revenues should always be higher than your expenses. And then the next few slides just gives you some additional detail on the individual line items within the financial statements, and overall you will see that the total revenues were coming in higher than budget, and a lot of that is related to your investment income, your investments with higher rates, and the amount of investments you had generated that positive surplus there that is coming to the bottom line, and as well too within the provincial revenue line, just the way the funding now works for waste and recycling, that is the reason for the decrease in the provincial line year over year, and as well too the majority of that does all relate to the paramedic service within the province line, as well as roads capital. So, and then as well too, you utilize development charges for roads capital work, and as well too same with the Canada Community Building Fund. And then the following slide just shows you where that money went on a PSAP basis. A couple things to point out here. The $995,000 change in your employee future benefits is sitting in the general government line. So if you take out that number there, you would actually be under budget, as that number wasn't budgeted. Transportation services did come in under budget, and that's related to a lot of materials and perhaps one-time expenditures that although that were not completed, that don't meet the definition under public sector accounting standards for capital, so that caused the variance there. Your environmental services includes about $900,000 in accretion on your landfill, which wasn't budgeted, so that line would be under budget as well if those PSAP changes weren't in there. And then as well too, you have your operations with the city for social and family services and social housing, and as well with Lang Pioneer Village in rec and culture, and your planning and development coming in under budget as well. And then the next slide shows you the type of expenses you had during the year. And you will see there that similar to the general government line change, salaries and benefits does include the change in the employee future benefits within that line item. So that's adds about $1 million to the line that is not within the budget. Then as well too, roads materials, as mentioned earlier, were coming in under budget, driving that line. And your rents and financial includes the $900,000 in accretion expense, creating that variance there. And as well to your and then you have the amounts that you provide to local agencies and the city in social services and your external transfers. And there was a loss on disposal of capital assets, giving you your total expenses of about $84.9 million. So just a summary of where the audit ended off. So, yes.
Thank you, Richard. I'll open it up for questions from the council. Yes, Councillor Armstrong.
Thank you, Warden Clark. Just a comment. I would like to acknowledge and thank Richard and company for changing the presentation. So some of you may have noticed the charts and the graphs first, but now they're both aligned, and we go from the oldest year to the newest year on both the charts and the graphs, which I was really pleased to see because I've been asking for it for 5 years. So thank you very much for that. Much easier to read and follow.
Well, it's a nice, so you look over the whole landscape where we've been, where we're going. So that's great. Thank you. Any further questions? And if not, just a motion to receive, moved by Deputy Warden Senes and second by Councillor Wilford. All in favor? Thank you. All right. Thank you, Richard, and enjoy the rest of that warm day. We'll now are going to move into closed session under the authority of the Municipal Act under section 239 2H and I. Could I have a mover and seconder for that? Councillor Webb and Councillor Whalen. All in favor?